drink, right? I just want to see the horrified looks on their
No,
faces.
like this.
Yeah. my brother tells a story of when he was looking, he was doing shidduchim, right?
Uh-huh.
So he was looking. So somebody recommended a Bukharish girl.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in Canada or something like that.
Yeah.
So he goes to visit. He goes with the rabbi
Uh-huh.
to visit the home, and the girl's nowhere to be found. And her father is sitting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking. The father is like, he's basically like, he's interrogating my brother, this and that and this and that, and then he looks at him after he finishes his questions, and he goes, okay, now you will see her. He claps his hands.
Yeah.
He goes like this, Golda, and she comes.
Yeah.
She appears in the doorway for a moment, and then she goes away.
That is absolutely hilarious.
That is absolute madness.
Dude, I know the opposite.
That's some Taliban shit, bro.
Dude, I know the opposite side of the coin, where I know this woman who's a Baal Tshuva, whatever, and her husband is basically like her like employee, and she doesn't even like, I actually, if nobody told me that this guy's her husband, I wouldn't know. Like, he's treated like a I don't think she treats him bad. He's just kind of treated as like in an employee capacity kind of thing.
Not good.
I'm not a fan of that. But he's cool with it. He seems like he relishes his role. You know what I mean? Like he actually like signed up for that. And I'm just like, and she doesn't even like introduce him. Like, she doesn't introduce him stam. Forget about like, this is my husband. It's like, she doesn't introduce, like, I didn't even know who he was. There was like some assistant or, I don't know, coworker. No, it's her husband.
Can I tell you something? I don't want to know her name.
Yeah.
I never want to know, but and it's not something you should tell to anybody who knows her, but just know for yourself.
Yeah.
She's committing adultery.
I know. I thought about that. It sucks, but she may not know she's doing that. She may be just like a good person who just kind of like has social faux pas. He's just doing a social faux pas. But whatever.
Humiliating your husband is an extension of adultery.
Yeah.
Especially with another man, right? Like
yeah.
She's speaking to you,
yeah.
Right? And then not introducing her husband, and it's just blядь, fucking.
It's also, I noticed it's also, can I ask you a question? As a person who grew up in Brooklyn, I noticed that...
Жидовский ёбаные, блядь.
No. I noticed that people in Brooklyn, like Russians from Brooklyn, they have this thing where they don't introduce themselves. What is that? They don't say like, hi, hey, my name is, nice to meet you. They don't do that. They just like look at you. And then
I'm not sure.
Do you know what I'm saying?
It sounds hilarious. I mean, it's not really hilarious, but I'm not sure. Like, I've always introduced myself.
I know you have, because you're normal. But I don't know.
I haven't been to Brooklyn.
This is something that I experienced, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe, is it me? Maybe I'm like...
Honey, when was the last time I was in Brooklyn? Are approved for Pelegish. If it
ever comes down to it, yeah.
It's not realistic, and she knows it.
Okay. Nice.
My wife is awesome. She lets me joke around like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why? You know why I think she's so cool, letting me say stuff like this? Because she treats me like Larry David's wife treats him. Remember when she said she gave him a gift? She said you can go have an
do whatever you
The reason is she knew that he would never do it.
Yeah, no, because he would never be capable. Because he's like, it's like the bowling alley scene where he's like, okay, no, he's like, you like, no, he's always like the karaoke thing. It was Mel Brooks is singing. Yeah. And he's like, you like bowling? What's there to do at night? Bowling, karaoke. It's nothing really to do. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm around. It's just like, dude, that's me. That's literally, he even tells him, he's like, you want to see how inept I really am? Check this out. Watch. Just watch. Watch how inept I am.
So that's why she's like, yeah, sure.
You're talking to him. You're talking to him. Same guy. Oh yeah, baby. Oh buddy. Because you know what it is? It's like this. If I come up to a woman, unfortunately, most I hate to say this, most women don't take kindly to shtick, right? Most women.
No shtick recognition software
whatsoever. So especially these frummy girls, whatever, even the Baal Tshuva girls. So I come up to them at these events, and you start with that stuff, and I start with that stuff, But what happens is, like, because I'm insecure, and I am, I mid shtick, I try to de-shtick, because I want the 30 seconds of approval, which is stupid, right? Because it's a self-defeating strategy. The better strategy is actually to be yourself, and if the person
Wrong.
What?
Wrong. I have the better strategy if you'd like to hear it.
Or do nothing. Or just shut up.
No. No.
What?
No. I just remembered something that I it's because I haven't been around people in a long time, which is why I forgot this.
Yeah.
When I'm around frummies, my first reaction is mnie ich żalka.
Same.
Okay. So I begin to do shtick, which I begin to entertain them.
Yeah.
With like kind of like really kind of like easy, minor, non-advanced shtick.
It's just watered down shtick. Yeah.
I do watered down shtick, and then that kind of they drop their guard a little bit, and and then I keep it there, and then I notice I can communicate better with them when you do kind of like silly, kind of childish kind of shtick that they can.
It's very low IQ, low resolution stuff, but for me it's very difficult because when I have to devolve into that,
it's just so you understand.
It's annoying.
Okay, we're committing a cardinal sin, a sin of the snobbish comedian.
Yeah.
Okay. So
no, it's not even that. It's just like I'm not able to. I'm literally not able to. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have a 56K modem. I can't do it.
But hang on, dude. Okay. What you probably don't understand is that by absorbing all and this comedy stuff that we talk and liking the same comedians, we have joined a very esoteric group. Do you understand?
Yes, I know.
And the shtick there, the IQ there is not your regular IQ.
But I'm not even talking about that level. You know what I mean?
They don't have comedic IQ.
I know.
That's.
But I'm not even talking about being on that level. I'm just talking about like something a little bit less than that and above, whatever you were just talking about with this whole simple stuff. Something in between that, even that would suffice.
Right. Like imagine you're sitting at a Shabbos table, right? Mm-hmm. There's a rabbi, and he has his little kids, like small children, maybe young teenage daughters, little boys, stay the kind of stuff that you would say to kind of make them giggle.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's what I normally do. I go straight to that. I never chance my actual.
I can do that
myself.
maybe. I can do that for like 5 minutes. And then I can't because I just want to kill myself.
I can do that for like a few hours.
I can't do that.
After a few hours, I'm exhausted.
I can't do that. It drained after 5 or 10 minutes. I'm drained. I'm just drained, dude. Like yesterday I was at a Shavuot Brachas, and actually it was like mostly Baal Tshuva. It was like Baal Tshuva mixed with people from like Upper West Side, like the modern Orthodox types.
Yeah.
And whatever. I was actually tasked with doing the Shavuot Brachas. The zimun for Shavuot Brachos, right? So I rarely do this, right? So I'm just reading off of, the art, it's just like this art scroll bencher, whatever. And it's telling me, I'm just following it. I'm just following it to a T how to do it. And then in the middle, right in the beginning, there was a guy who's, he has smicha, and then he just raised his voice as if I'm saying something wrong, and then everybody's shushing him because they're like, no, he's doing it right? And then later on, I was like, oh, did I screw something up? And one of the guys, he jokes around and he goes, yeah, man, don't worry about it. He's like a modern Orthodox guy. He grew up from. He's like, don't worry about it, man. I did that at the Shavuot Brachas at my friend's wedding. And then he goes, Yeah, they had to like redo the wedding completely. And what I wanted to say was, in front of everybody, and including my friends who just got married, is the guy... no, I wanted to say, little do you know, they actually did get married and the guy's refusing to give a get. I wanted to say that as a joke, as a dark joke, but I stopped myself.
Good. Very wise.
Dude, but that's a funny joke, right? I mean, you would have laughed.
I would have laughed, but I would have been like that one cackling comedian that's cackling in the background as you're bombing in front of all the and just
No, but you're cackling because I'm bombing, or you're cackling because you actually found what I just said funny.
No, that's both. That's
okay, fine.
You understand?
Fine.
When a comedian bombs, it's very often something funny, but the people don't get it.
It's funny to him, and it's funny to like his friend at the bar. The people don't get it.
Right. So by the way, Patton Oswalt, he has this routine where he's like, I went to see. He was talking about the different type of comedians. He goes, the 90s was the realm of the comedy magician. Mm-hmm. The comedy magician dominated, and he was talking about one of these guys. I can only assume.
What's his name?
I can only assume he meant the Amazing Jonathan, but he didn't name him.
Carrot Top.
Well, no, Carrot Top. He's not.
Oh, he's just a props guy.
Magician.
He's a props guy. Yeah.
He's just a prop guy, right? Yeah. So, the Amazing Jonathan is the comedy. Mm-hmm. He's awesome, but so he was saying how he they had a dispute with the owner of the club. Mm-hmm. where he wanted to underpay him by $5, and then the guy got so mad, the magician, because the deal was 75, and the guy said no, it's going to be 70. So and Patton Oswalt was also performing that night, and they told him 25, but it said no, it's going to be 20. So he's like, oh, 20. What am I going to do? I need the 20. But the comedy magician, mm-hmm. he was like so mad that he said he fucked the audience for 20 straight minutes, right? He goes, you see this? Yeah. This? Boom, this. And he offered like nothing. He just showed the tricks, nothing. And he goes, and the crowd hated him, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought it was the funniest thing I ever saw in my life, and I was cackling in the background like a horror banshee being dragged out by a skirt.
Dude, can I ask a question? Is there something wrong with us?
Is there something wrong with us?
Yeah. As a result of what you just what I just described and what you just described, or are we just like? Hold on a second. Give me a second.
Let me tell you something wrong with us, and also something very right.
Okay.
Okay. It usually goes hand in hand. When somebody has a bunch of stuff that's really right, they also have a bunch of really wrong stuff that counterbalances it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you another thing. I'm not going to tell you the names of these people, but in the past 100 years, you had a couple of Hasidic Rabbis. Because I was speaking to a rabbi.
You told me about that Rav. What's his name? The one with shtick. The one in Lubavitch. What's his name? No, that's hundreds of years ago. Yeah. I'm talking about this is more recent. Okay.
So, and I was always thinking, I was like, Rabbi, it was like these guys, the rabbis, like the really big rabbis, the tzaddikim, when they are hanging out with each other, are they like is everything as boring and sterile as it's made out to be, or do these guys really have a sense of humor? Do they make fun of each other? Do they really have like awesome shtick between each other?
Yeah.
And then he tells me a story how there's one Hasidic Rebbe called another Hasidic Rebbe. He's like, oh, that's Uncle Esav right there.
That's funny.
Fetter Esav.
That's funny.
I think it was one of the Rebbes saying that about the Satmar Rebbe, because he was like, they were having like constant like feuds and stuff like that, and they called each other this stuff. And there's another where the Orach, I believe it was the Orach Chaim or the Or Sameach, was walking with some other giant, genius of halacha and hashkafa, right? Yeah. And then they were walking together. They were like talking. He goes, and one of them goes, you're as dumb as a horse. The other guy's like, I don't understand what you're saying. He goes, your mind is, you're empty. You have the head of a dog, something like that. You know, like they say stuff like that to each other.
Yeah.
So on their level, they're probably hilarious. Do you understand? Can you imagine how hilarious it would be to hear these guys
For sure.
talking to each other?
For sure.
Right? And all of these like, I think that I have a theory. One of the reasons why there's such a rift, not a rift, but there seems to be such a big gap between the Rebbe and the followers, right?
Yeah.
Is because the followers don't have a sense of humor.
I know,
like,
they don't.
The Rebbe's
some of them do, but most of them don't. No.
Right, like they can't hang, basically.
Yeah, they can't.
Right?
I know they can't. Of course they can.
So he just lets it be. He's like, all right, whatever. These people can't hang, you know. I was just like, you know.
Yeah.
And then once in a while he gets to hang out with somebody with a sense of humor and has the time of his life.
Yep.
That's probably what it's like.
Dude, you know what? You know, for me, people always like, especially in shidduchim, they're like, you don't need that, you don't need this, you don't need that, whatever it is. And I go. To me, it's very, very simple, man. To me, it's very, very, very simple. The world is without Mashiach. The world is not a fun, like, the world is not a friendly place. And therefore, if you can't,
exactly. What do you think gullus means? Gullus is fucking gullus.
Yeah, so if you can't laugh at literally, if you can't figure out a way how to laugh at literally freaking everything and troll the world and troll things that people think are so damn important, then you can't live, because you're gonna want to just like stab yourself in the eye with a freaking pencil. If you're stifled.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like happens to some Balchuvas. Like
if you allow the people to stifle you,
leave their eyes.
Yeah. It's just.
I remember seeing this one guy when I was 16. I went to camp, and there's this guy from Morristown, and he was hilarious. Like he was like a Balchuvish guy, but he was like, you know, he used to beatbox, and he was hilarious. He had so much shtick. Yeah. A couple of years later, like 5 years later, when I actually went to Morristown for yeshiva, and I saw him there, and it looked like he had a mental collapse. Yeah. Like, you know, like I was trying to talk to him, and there was like no one there. It's like that guy, that awesome guy, that I was talking to was like, he's just like gone. Like his beard got bigger, but the light in his eyes got dimmer.
Dude, I mean, if you think that, I can say that almost happened to me. It didn't almost happen to me, but it was one of those things. I was aware of myself at a certain point, and I was like, if I'm not careful, it might happen to me. And then at some point I was just like, part of it was the particular yeshiva that I went to. I'm not gonna say the name. Another part of it was just the whole like, there's something to be said for they do it's all this Musar stuff, you know. But you're describing Lubavitch, so that happened to a guy in Morristown in Lubavitch. But the Musar stuff really.
It could have been a drug thing too. You know, I'm not gonna blame Lubavitch for that. Could be. I actually have no idea what happened, but it was sad.
I don't know, dude. But here it's like, it's really a lot to do with. It's a combination of the Musar thing. You know, these like being around these like American Balchuva people. You know, people get confused. They think that like working on yourself and this whole, you know, what is it? Making yourself bittul means they think that includes humor. And it's patently untrue. It's patently untrue because we see the rabbis are joking around all the time.
Right, with each other, but the problem is that's good. Yeah. But the question is, do they think everybody else is allowed to have one?
It's not a question of what they think.
I think you're gonna have a difference of opinion among the rabbis.
Well, it's not a question of allowed. It's a question of like, is it encouraged or not, kind of thing.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. At some point, especially, dude, you know, it's funny, like, remember in Boiler Room when Peter, the main character, not Boiler, I'm sorry, oh my god, not in Boiler Room, no, Office Space. In Office Space, where he goes to the therapy session with his wife, and the guy does hypnosis on him, and then like he has a heart attack and everybody's like going crazy, and then he like wakes up from the hypnosis, which went a little too long, and then he wakes up and he basically is just like, he just like doesn't care. He's like this like free guy. Yeah. Dude, I think that happened to me as soon as the lockdowns began. As soon as like COVID became a thing. That happened to me. I don't know why it happened to me. I mean, I know why, but I think it's like, I don't know, it was just so liberating. I was just like, you know what? All bets are off. That's it. Because I saw that like no one's hiding anymore. No one is, like I said, people put the masks on, but the mask came off, And like everybody's mask came off, and I was like, well, if everybody's mask coming off, then mine is definitely coming off, because I've been wearing a mask for or partially wearing a mask for the last 2 years. And then I was just like, wow, and I just automatically became just like happier. Again, it was just like when he woke up, he woke up from the hypnosis in that scene. He's just like smiling. He has like some grin on his face, like a dumb grin.
Yeah. I don't know if there was like a particular moment for me. I think it was just like a series of epiphanies. Not to use that. I think that I'm not sure if that's a purely Christian term, but
no, it's not a Christian term. Epiphany, epiphany, like a realization.
Yeah. Which I think probably the most important one, even though it didn't necessarily make the biggest impact on me when it happened, but I realize now it's the most important one. Since I could remember as a child, it seemed like belief in God was, I was programmed with it.
Yeah, same.
Not programmed, like it was already, it was just there.
Yeah,
we talked
same.
about this, yeah. I mean, you related to that too. And so it was never even a thought. Like nobody taught me. We didn't have long conversations about God.
Yeah.
I was just, which is kind of interesting, right? Like wasn't a religious family. The word God wasn't necessarily heard every single day.
The only time I had a conversation about God with anybody in my family is when I was like already like 15, and my father was telling me his whole matrix theories. He didn't call it matrix. He just called it, it was his own theories that later on I realized resembled, That was the only discussions I had. I mean, it's pretty big, but
yeah.
But,
my epiphany came that like when I got interested in the Torah, we talked about like plenty of times, Torah codes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, like this is definitely real. It would seem that it was more. You see, like God was, until that point, it was like a person. It was purely personal. It was eternal. Like I blamed him for creating the world.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't have much more details. The most general possible.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the nature of the Torah, I'm like, oh, okay, he actually wrote this like personally himself. Like this wasn't like messed with.
Yeah.
So that was like a huge moment for me. But then when I started to become, quote unquote frum, right?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed I didn't feel like I was like my relationship with God was getting any closer. Like I didn't find myself like,
I think
you read about God.
Yeah.
Right? And it says God said this and God said that, right? But somehow
Can I ask you a question?
You didn't get the sense, like, how is your relationship with God? Do you feel closer to him today?
Can I ask you a question? When you were in Israel, did you have the typical, like, what I call spiritual amusement park moments where you're like just there and you're in yeshiva, and then you go into like you hang out in Jerusalem and you have all these other, every day you have these hashgacha pratis situation. Like I had this for like 3 years, man, or 2 years. Every single day I had it. I had it on overdrive, and Hashem was showing himself to me every single day. He literally, Hashem experientially proved to me that he is like literally active in the world. But then when I came back to America, I was like, hello, where are you? Because I came back directly from Jerusalem. You understand what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It was just like, he's there and then he's not there. And then I had to actually work on myself in order to bring him back to myself, even when I'm not in Israel, or specifically in Jerusalem, like when I'm here.
Here's what I felt. Well, obviously in Israel, I felt I had much more. It was like, just being in the palace of the king, basically.
Yeah.
But there's a similar problem, I think, as the way it's treated. Like when you're in yeshiva, right?
Yeah.
Your relationship with God is it feels like it's being micromanaged a little bit too much.
The lamdus aspect, yes. But okay. I don't think I think I had more.
There's a lot of learning without any real explanation and without much experiential.
Yeah.
Relationship having.
Well, I'll tell you, I think I had a better. I think I have more an actual experiential relationship with God when I physically would leave the confines of the building in my yeshiva, and just go into town, go hang out. Even travel Israel, not just Jerusalem, like different places. That's when you develop that.
Isn't that crazy? It's sort of like it's like. In yeshiva, right, you would think that's the place where you have to feel the closest, to God. But it's the noisiest place where you can't even hear yourself think.
For sure.
You don't have your own, even during davening.
Yep. There was a guy. There was a guy in my yeshiva during minyan, like mincha minyan, in the base midrash, like where everybody's there, like everybody's just finished the. Actually, I'm sorry. It was right after lunch. So then, mincha begins, and this is like right before afternoon. I guess not seder, but like classes. There was a guy who used to like breathe out very, very heavily in the middle of Shmona Esrei. Like that.
Yeah.
Every freaking day. At some point, this is like a room with a Aron Kodesh. But at some point, I wanted to throw him. I wanted to take him and throw him. There was like half the guys in my yeshiva at the time that I was there. I wanted to take them and throw them. Just insufferable people. I don't know. It's just, I hate to say it, man. Can you relate?
I can relate, but that's like any situation that you're ever in where there are other people involved. There's literally always that guy. You could be that guy for other people. I could be that guy.
I probably was. I didn't really understand why, because before I came there, everybody I knew or kind of hung out with, I had a good kesher with people. I didn't really understand why my very presence or existence would grind anybody's gears, you know what I mean?
No. What I'm saying is, I think that everybody gets a chance to be that guy at some point in their life, not throughout their life.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It could be at any stage, It could be, you could be a young that guy, or you can be an old that guy, or somewhere in between. You never know.
Yeah.
And for various periods of time. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But you ever heard that expression, which has to be taken into account, by the way, because I think this is abused, the following. Yeah. That if you notice something about somebody else.
Yeah,
it's really you're noticing it by yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
That whole thing is a little bit. That is abused to the
I know because 90% of the time it's not the case.
Right. So it's not. You're not always. Not everything that you see that you notice bad among people.
Exactly.
Is that you are responsible for.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not trying to eugenicize the world, just because I see that Bill Gates and Fauci are trying to do that.
Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like that's like a female tactic.
Yeah.
Just because you see, doesn't you see yourself.
Yeah.
Jesus, shut the flip up.
You can't look. The truth. Look, you want to hear some truth?
Always.
Some of the concepts that are said are true. However, most of the time taken out of context and spoken by the wrong people.
Yep.
So, for instance, the ideas that you hear quote unquote rabbis constantly are saying, where it's always the man's fault.
Yeah. Oh, get the hell out of here.
Everything's the guy, the women. Oh, you should be grateful that this and that. Basically, the whole narrative of the modern world is that whole thing about the king of queens, right?
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm talking about, like some fat loser who was he was put together with a woman far too beautiful for him.
Yeah, too beautiful, too great, too this, too that.
Right.
I keep hearing this, man. I keep hearing it from like my friends who are like, let's say having some marital whatever it is, and then it seems like the rabbis are always taking that. Yeah, they joke like, I spoke to my Rebbe, and they say women are like this. You gotta do this, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to fucking do anything. She's a psycho. She's just not well. She belongs in a mental hospital. You don't have to do anything, man.
We're going a little. You're talking about something a little bit different.
But you understand? No, but they.
I understand what you're saying. That's also important, but it's a little bit. Yeah. That's a little bit.
But that's
different
these days. I find that to be usually the case. That it's not.
So. No. So
more often than not.
Here's the thing: if your rabbi is a man's man, right?
Which most are not.
I'm saying if your rabbi is a man's man, they still exist.
I know they do.
Okay.
Somewhere.
And they are a righteous man. They're not trying to be, macho for its own sake.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I'm talking about, a man's man is someone who realizes that you have to embrace the characteristics of manliness for your purpose in this world. Okay? Women need real men.
Yeah. Okay?
They don't need self-effacing beta cucks, to borrow a term from our, from the modern vernacular.
Yeah.
The betas have taken over, not only in the secular world, but also in the Orthodox Jewish world. The beta mindset.
For sure. I was just telling my friend the other day that not only that feminism has really, from just the general population, has seeped into the Jewish world big time. And you see it during dating. It's crazy, and it's also shulchanim are also part of it too. By the way.
Yeah, women are not attracted to the kind of men that they are raising.
I know.
Okay.
Listen,
so
can I tell you something real quick? I remember a few years ago, I sat down with this rabbi, very nice guy. I think I told you this. He made me make a list of like what are my needs, what are my wants, whatever. That whole typical stuff. And one of the things I wrote on this piece of paper, I just wrote emotional intelligence, and then I wrote next to it 3 asterisks to emphasize its importance. The guy reads it, and he goes, you see women, and he's like, emotional intelligence, but you see women. I'm like, no, I don't see women. I don't see ... women. I don't see, no, I'm not, no, don't excuse this. No. Just, he was like insisting on like trying to convince me that like, by default, women don't lack emotional intelligence. And I'm just like, dude, sorry, man. I'm not buying what you're selling.
Dude, there's a framework in the religious world, okay, which they're hoping that the framework takes care of any of or helps to mitigate the issues that everybody deals with.
That's
Let me explain what I mean.
That's what somebody.
What the rabbi is saying, in my opinion, what the rabbi is saying to you is like, look, dude, how if you're a real religious guy, part of the community, how often are you really going to interact with her? You wake up in the morning, you go to shul, then you go to work. Okay, so you have a couple of moments with her in the morning, perhaps in the evening. A couple of intimate moments where you have to make some kids, right? And she goes off to her side of the shul. You go off to your side of the shul. So better not to spend that much time together. You know,
I know
so
people. I know men who are struggling.
Listen
to me very careful. I know men who are struggling because they thought when they got into the marriage that this system would mitigate the person, the females. You know, just shall I say, not such savory personality, for lack of a better term. And now they are suffering. It's major league suffering. You know, because Torah cannot fix, you know, as my mom says in Russian, противный характер.
No, it can. It can.
It can if the person wants to do it on their own, but you cannot hope that, you know.
It's not going to happen through osmosis.
Yeah.
But if the person engages it, of course it can.
Yeah, by themselves, on their own, on their own accord. Don't hope that they will. Don't, you know, it's like a Cedric the Entertainer. You know, white people, we wish, you wish. Or no, is it black people?
White people, they hope.
They hope, yeah, the hope. White people, I hope no one's in our seats. Black people, I wish MF would be in my seat. Yeah. He's like, don't you hope, I hope they're not in our seats. Oh, we're here early, and I just hope no one's in our seats. You know? You can't.
That is a genius bit of comedy, by the way.
It's amazing, right? So this whole hope thing is like...
He's underrated. Cedric's underrated.
Very much so. Very much so.
I just realized that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah.
The man is a comedy genius and not getting the credit that he deserves.
He's like, black people taking over all sports. And he's like, now hockey. I don't know about hockey. I'll be skating without a stick. Talking about. He's like, I wish a MF would be in my shiznit. I'd be skating I'd be skating around like without a stick.
Right. And black people, they don't got no martial arts. They don't got no Japanese. They don't got no Chinese. They
Taiwanese.
got please.
And please.
Right.
See, this is even the kind of shtick, as simple as it is, this is also shtick that you can't even use with, you know, the frummy people. Can you give me 1 second? I'm sorry.
So for the first time, I've seen, like I showed you that thing from Tucker a couple days ago, right? With Elizondo.
Yeah.
And then today I wake up and I see headline on the Gateway Pundit.
Uh-huh.
It has even gotten into the Gateway Pundit now.
Which is what? Oh, that's
which is
situation.
I'm looking for the headline. Hold on. I'm almost there. What was you? Second. Are you recording this?
Yes, I am.
You son of a...
I've been recording this whole time. I thought we understood. Yeah, no, I thought we like...
No, I didn't realize.
This is a very personal episode, but it's, you know, I think this is, I don't even know what number, I think 27?
This is 27, this. Yeah. Wow. Hold on. Bleed, blood. So you recorded me saying Yobané Zhidovsky?
Maybe.
That's great.
This is what I call the Alexei Kovalov episode, number 27.
Just leave it in.
And as we know, Alexei Kovalov, he had to do a lot of bobbing and weaving and stick handling around his opponents. Do you know what I'm saying? He had to like do a lot of moves to not get hit, you know?
Yeah.
You have to pull a lot of moves.
I sent you the headline.
Hold on a second. There you go. Swarm of UFOs dart across California sky. Day after pilot records fleet of UFOs flying. So okay, so what do we to conclude? Like what's the? We say in Israel, Azma. Like what are we supposed to do with this? Like what's the next step in humanity of like what?
Study it. Okay, look,
Okay.
look. It's kind of making its way really slow towards us, right?
It's annoying
Instead of-
because nobody cares. You know.
Yeah, but some people care. Hold
Yeah,
on,
I know.
Let me so here's what I suggest. Those who are aware should begin studying it.
Mm-hmm.
Once they begin studying the subject and they understand the role of consciousness in its connection to this subject, then they in effect bring themselves closer to it.
Yeah.
And then it in turn brings itself even closer. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a double-sided rope. It's
Yeah.
like a tug of war.
Yeah.
A double-sided rope.
Yeah.
Idiot I am. Every rope is double-sided. It's a tug of war, right?
Yeah.
So they tug and then you tug.
You mean it's just you meant like a rope with people on both sides of it. That's what you meant.
Correct.
Yeah.
So to me, that the realm of consciousness that is deeply intertwined with this whole topic is the realm of Yetzirah. The realm of Yetzirah is the realm of the third base of Mikdash, the realm of Gan Eden, the realm of the type of it's a Adam Harishon consciousness, Gan Eden consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's so as you're and I'm not saying that Tic Tacs. I'm not saying if you come and hang out at Tic Tac that you're in Gan Eden. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it is a starting point.
Yeah.
It's the lip.
Yeah.
It's like the edge of it's the shoreline of Yetzirah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I'm saying. So study the concept. Understand that it's already making incursions into our reality. It's making the news headlines, and we were saying like who can we trust?
Yeah.
There's no news to listen to. There's like the Gateway Pundit, maybe, right? And then Tucker, possibly, probably not, but possibly, right?
Dude, you know what cracks me up about him? I mean, you know this. You see him sometimes. He has a guest on his show, and he'll be the guest is explaining some concept, and Tucker has this look on his face like. He's got these we say in Russian kvadratny glaza, like square eyes.
No, that's called Tucker porn.
And his mouth is open.
They call that Tucker porn.
What is wrong with him? Is he like on hypnosis, on drugs?
No. That's why he got the show. Listen. He's looking at people like he's giving you the look of like a confused dog when you're being an idiot. And you're saying some nonsense.
No, but these people are not saying nonsense. They're saying like sometimes they're saying like good. They're saying like very wise things, and he's looking at them like what is wrong with this? He's like in a trance.
The face that face has been concretized by this point. That was a face that he made when encountering people who make no sense, who are just absolute
for sure
mental midgets.
So now he just makes that face stom, like it doesn't matter what it is.
Now that face has been it's been permanentized. I know that's not a word. Okay, but there are different shades of it. Right now, like you have to know the face in order to understand. That's like mild Tucker, and then that's really Tucker. That's indignant Tucker right there.
And picante, or whatever. Mild picante, whatever. Like
that's blue steel.
Right. Yeah, blue steel. Water is the essence of wetness. And moisture, moisture is the essence of wetness. And wetness is the essence of beauty. Merman.
Do you understand, by the way, what you just said? And which is incredible. Like, I don't know, like this could be one of those like silly kind of plain. Yeah, but the idea of the four most fundamental elements, right? So when God created the universe, he created the prima matter. Or the rabbis, they borrowed a term from the Greek called the hiuli, because the Hebrew term is secret. They don't reveal that. Okay, but it represents the first quote unquote yesh. right?
Yesh
Yesh
is like
ma'ayin.
anything
What
that
was that
actually
first
exists.
yesh?
Anything that physically exists.
Not even. No, this is way before physicality.
Mhm.
This is billions and trillions and kabillions of years before. I know that after trillions goes quadrillions, but I like kabillions better. Okay, so basically we have the prima matter is the first thing that seems to have some existence of its. It seems to have some existence of its own.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the word for the hiuli. So it was subdivided into four types. It was further subdivided into four. Those are the four basic elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the elements are described as water, earth,
Mm-hmm.
wind, and fire.
Yeah.
Right. So the most foundational aspect of what water is is water is. I'm trying to remember how it was described. So let's not start with water. Let's go to.
What's the name of the Greek concept so I can look it up?
Hiuli, but you got to go to the Ramban. The Ramban, the commentary of the Ramban. He's the one who really brings
but
down.
how do I spell that?
I don't remember how they
Hiuli?
transliterate it. Hiuli. Maybe Hyule. Not sure. So you have heat.
Not Helios, right? Like.
What is it?
No, that's the sun god. Okay, fine.
Although it might have an etymological connection because helium is a very basic element, but not sure. So basically, you have the very very like beginnings of differentiation within Hiuli. You have like something that is cool, and something that is warm, something that is like cool and wet. No, I'm not remembering the exact wording correctly.
Yeah.
But even the four fundamental elements have a fundamental explanation.
See, it says
like
Aristotle.
What they really are.
So this is a thing Aristotle wrote. This believed that the four natural elements on Earth, fire, air, water, earth, were a combination of dry, hot, dry,
Yes.
wet, or cold, and they could be transformed into one another. This was a primitive idea of chemical change. This is, we're talking like the science, the sublimation, all these different things. Classical element.
Right. So you have a bunch of wise guys who are like, oh, clearly this was gotten from Aristotle.
Yeah.
Even though there was clearly an extremely profound
different cultures. It says
from the Middle East
different
upon
cultures.
the Greeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So just because Western society,
sure.
Carefully or if they did do any historical documentation, right? They preserved or transmitted more the Greek tradition. That doesn't mean that these ideas are Greek in origin.
Yeah.
And first of all, truth is truth. That's one thing. It's just I hate these discussions of people who they really need to prove that something is one thing, and you got this from here, and they got this from there. It makes me want to go the opposite direction.
Who cares? It's like who cares?
Yeah. So the only reason why I'm so it's not a tribalism thing. Like if I didn't believe the Torah was completely divine, I wouldn't give a damn who came up with this idea first. First of all, the idea wouldn't matter to me that much because it's just thoughts of man anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, even if I was slightly interested in some academic way, which I'm not, I wouldn't care who came up with it first.
Yeah.
But the fact that this idea is the Torah is divine for reasons that we've discussed very, very often, the mathematical nature of it.
Yeah.
And then since this is the Masorah that goes along with the written Torah, which also has this mathematical connection to it, there's so many reasons why it's clear, easily provable that it's not of Greek origin.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not because I have anything against the Greeks. It's just because truth is truth. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I hate that discussion, though. soon as you mentioned Aristotle, right away, it was
Yeah.
like a entire cascade of memories of these stupid conversations, this tribalistic nonsense. Like, whatever.
It's like
So,
it's like literally if you mention any of these people, like I just posted something from a quote from Goethe on my wall, right?
From what?
Goethe, what's his name? The Goethe.
Goethe. Actually, you're probably pronouncing it right, but when I see
Johann
his name,
Wolfgang
I say Goethe.
Goethe, yeah, Johann Goethe.
I say Goethe because that's what it looks like, but you're probably right in
Yes.
the way it's pronounced.
Check out this phrase. Nothing is more disgusting than the majority, because it consists of a few powerful predecessors, of rogues who adapt themselves, of weak who assimilate themselves, and the masses who imitate without knowing at all what they want. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it feels something in there feels right.
Yo, can you hold on one
Some
second,
part
man?
of
Can you give me a second? So, I mean, I don't know. I read this quote and I'm just like, all I can think of was today.
Read the quote again. I want to hear it. I want to make sure.
Nothing is more disgusting, because some people say like, oh, why can't you be like, look, the majority of people are like, everybody's doing it.
They're all walking off the cliff.
Yeah.
Why can't you be like?
Yeah, nothing is more. So it says nothing is more disgusting than the majority, because it consists of a few powerful predecessors, which is like these, these scumbags.
Yeah.
Rogues who adapt themselves. These kind of people who are just kind of like, they didn't really have any beliefs and they just kind of like latched on to, whatever's the flavor of the day. Of weak who assimilate themselves, also kind of just people who are docile, who just basically like go along with, they're told you're going to lose your job and whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then the masses who imitate without knowing at all what they want. It's like people who are just like, they don't know what the right path is, and they're just kind of like, well, might as well.
You know what's amazing? With that in mind,
Mm-hmm.
you come to realize there's no such thing as an actual majority.
I know, it's BS.
There is no majority. In order to have a majority, you'd have to have every individual within that majority to have his own objective,
Yeah.
or at least the ability to have a true subjective.
A non-coerced decision-making process.
Right.
That does not involve coercion or like people, like with even like advertising or any kind of persuasion.
Yeah,
Like,
you give a person the chance to think it through and to have the same resources that everybody else has.
Yeah.
Give them the time to use them, to think it through, and then truly come up with their own decision. And then I put forth, no one has ever seen a majority opinion.
Of course
yet.
not. Of course not.
Has never happened yet. Wow.
Including in what they call science, what they like to call science. Because a lot of the time
science is a beautiful idea, which never happened.
Yeah, it's like exactly that. This is what I was talking to my mother today. She's telling me about how a friend of hers, whatever, they have like a daughter. She's like a scientist, like literally a virologist at Columbia University, whatever it is. And I'm trying to explain to him like let's say we give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? And you say the scientists themselves, these people who are developing mRNA, whatever it is, are doing in the sense of developing the actual physical this stuff, are actually doing a fantastic job. The problem is not them. The problem is their bosses, the people that are taking what is being made and how they are applying it. On top of that, I explained, I was like, if you're telling me that everybody and their grandmother agrees, right? And there's no like what we call in Hebrew keneged voices. There's no opposing voices being heard who have just as much expertise on the matter, but just are saying, well, guys, like let's calm down. Let's not rush to, if you're telling me that this is the same as the other vaccines, then the other vaccines took 5 to 10 years to develop. Like, what are we doing over here? This is insane, right? So I said, Once you deny those people a voice, you've turned your realm into dogma, into scientism. It's a religion. It's a cult. It's not anymore what you claim it to be. Like you're telling me that I don't believe in science. I believe very much in science.
Actually, you know, I think the first time that anybody's going to have a real opportunity to do science en masse is when Mashiach comes.
For sure.
Only Mashiach can facilitate an environment where real science can happen.
For sure.
Because people will be concerned all day with the knowledge of God on all levels, within nature.
Yeah.
So basically, with that, in other words, everybody's going to be 100% consumed with spending their time entirely searching for the truth on all levels of reality, right? Yeah. Now, the only way you can do that is when you are not being coerced towards a certain conclusion for political reasons or geopolitical reasons,
or you're not trying to make fat cash just to acquire another company. Pfizer just acquired $6 billion. That's the second
thing, right? When no one is see, right now scientists can't be scientists because otherwise you can't live. They don't let you. Yep. They won't give you a paycheck. You won't be able to live. So you got to do science within the confines of corruption.
What are you, a socialist? See, I love how they these people are all for. We have heard nothing about medicine besides the fact that we need universal healthcare and universal this and universal that. But all of a sudden, this past year and a half, we went right back to the most I don't know, it's not even capitalistic, it's like plundering, unabashed pirate capitalism in the medical field. On crack.
What do you mean, dude?
I mean, Schmeiser, this whole thing of,
I think people, guys from our generation, I'm not gonna shit on you for this.
Yeah.
But I guess we grew up absorbing the idea anything kind of criminal or anything greedy is connected to the
No,
word
I'm not saying it's a problem. What I'm saying is these people are hypocrites. I'm saying that they've been pushing since Obama's reign, the whole thing. They've been saying how it's bad for these companies to make money, and now all they're doing is making money. I don't really care either way. All I'm saying is these guys are.
Tranquilo, mijo. Tranquilo, relax. I'm not attacking you.
No, I know you're not. I was just clarifying the point. That's all I'm saying.
I think your point is clear. I just wanted to make a clarification and stick up for I was going to say communism, then I shoot myself in the face. For capitalism.
Well, that's what they would do to you, so you're just preempting, you're just running ahead of the, as we say.
I would shoot them in the face first. Yeah. I mean, I'm not into turning the other cheek. I'd like to take down as many of them as I can. So, that's the thing. I really, if it happens, then if it has to happen, and I hope it doesn't, but I wish, can God just give me at least the dignity of taking a few of those motherfuckers with me?
Exactly.
But I don't know. That's a morbid thought. But basically, I hope that that's not something that ever needs to happen. I prefer not to. I prefer just to kind of live a peaceful life without having to take life.
Yeah.
Not too much to ask for. Very little, actually. That's a very, very small thing to ask for. But the point is capitalism, okay?
Yeah.
Capitalism just means where everybody has something that they want to put forth, okay? Some kind of value that they'd like to put forth, that they create. And they're allowed to benefit from that value that they create, which people willingly want to use, right? Like you come up with an idea that people want to hear, so they'll pay you for it. You come up with a song that people want to hear,
sure.
Pay you to listen for it. Sure. Nobody's being coerced or forced in any way.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, competition is encouraged. Okay, because that way things improve. The songs get better. If there's another musician that comes around and starts to challenge you, then the songs get better.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So anything good this is the way this is the vessel that God uses to bring goodness, to bring innovation to the world.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very, very positive. Now, what people normally called in the vernacular, capitalism, this. What they're actually talking about is fascism.
Yeah.
Corporate fascism.
It's called corporatism. Yeah.
Crony. This bullshit term, crony capitalism, is corporate fascism. That is the correct term for it.
Yeah.
Capitalism has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to put that forth. So basically, what we're talking about,
we were talking about, we went into...
I was filled with righteous indignation, and then I forgot.
Oh, no,
my mind is now empty.
We just went into... Yeah, we were just talking about all these guys, and then...
Oh, yeah, no, so with the schmacks, right?
Yeah.
Actually, now we're on Rumble. Wait, are we entirely on Rumble?
We're gonna be on Rumble.
No, but can I say schmacks in its real way, or are you still trying to preserve the what's left? Let's
just keep with the only schmacks.
Okay, we'll just keep saying schmacks. Fine. So with the schmacks, it's pure coercion. All right, that's fascism.
For sure.
Fascism. People associate fascism with racism.
Yep.
Fascist regimes are often also racist, but that's not fascism.
It's not the main. It's not the main characteristic.
No. So I think we're saying that when the only way to really ensure that you can actually take a majority, right, to really get a true majority opinion, right, is when you have an entire society that, in a sense, has the opportunity, the time, to be enlightened. What that means is everybody has access to the same opportunities.
Yep.
No one is being molested.
Mm-hmm.
No one is being coerced. No one is being, pressured one way or the other. Okay.
Yeah.
So people will progress at different levels, at different, on their own time scales, right? Everybody's different. But as long as everybody has access to the same stuff, meaning opportunities, resources, when Mashiach comes, resources will be not just abundant, but they'll be infinite.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're just left to your own devices and you're left alone to kind of, work things out at your own pace, then we can find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Okay? Only then, and if you have an entire population full of people who are like that, only then can you have a majority view.
Well, doesn't it speak to like what the founding fathers originally did, were doing with the whole thing of the only people who can vote are land, I mean, let's take away the men part, men and women, but land owning taxpayers, because the implication was that the people who, own land and pay taxes are of that caliber, and they are informed enough to be able to make like a proper decision one way or the other when it comes to voting, as opposed to the masses that we have today who are voting, who don't know what the hell is going on and what's flying. Even if you take away the whole fraud issue, let's say there's not one iota of fraud anywhere, let's just say if there wasn't, these people still don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right. In order to borrow a term from the from the woke left, right? Level the playing field, right? So what that really means in those days, right? That only the property owners were able to vote. What that really means is the people who, number one, had a real understanding of what was actually going on.
Yeah.
And number two, were involved in it, meaning they had a personal stake. They had everything at stake.
No.
They had what to lose.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like people who don't pay taxes vote. It's insane.
We're talking about the people who vote are the people who are personally invested, who have something to lose.
Yeah.
Okay? Not just something to gain, but also something to lose. So how would you apply that to the modern world, right? So how could you? So you would need to have before voting, you would need to prove some minimum level of awareness of the issues.
Yeah.
Okay? Where you would go, and voting would be, if voting was ever actually taken serious, right? If they wanted to use voting as something that reflects reality.
Yeah.
What would they do? Be like, all right, are you familiar with this issue? What's your stance on this issue, and why?
Yeah.
What do you personally?
Well, the irony is that they do that, and who when they do these polls,
where do they do that?
I'm saying when they're doing these pre-polls, these like what is it, Gallup, Schmallup, all that stuff. Who are they talking to? They're talking to likely voters, and likely voters are people who tend to be more informed. Likely voters. People tend to be more informed. You don't think
Wrong.
so? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
These polls are purposely, most of the time, misleading.
I mean, yeah, that's besides the point. Yeah.
They're always cheating.
Okay.
They're not really trying to get a pulse of reality. They're trying to
that I know.
skew.
That I know.
They're trying to wag the dog rather than okay. So So that's really what the polls are doing. I never valued them. 75% of Jews vote Democrat. How do you know that? Oh, because we called up 500 Jews, some of them in Beverly Hills, the rest of them on the Upper West Side, and with names that seemed openly Jewish.
The father is Jewish,
Irving
and that's basically it.
Finkelstein, Marvin, Kikeberger, whatever. You know what I mean? So what? And they never. So they spoke to 500 people who identify as being Jewish.
Yeah.
Whether or not they really are Jewish, that's a separate issue, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really
Meanwhile, if you go on their Twitter, it says he, her, and she, her, or whatever.
Today they're Jewish, tomorrow they're Hawaiian.
Yeah. It's like Jackie Mason. Do I look Hawaiian? Every yenta is chopping her noses and blanking her face. Do I look Hawaiian? I look Hawaiian. Don't I look Hawaiian? It's so wonderful. I look Hawaiian. Oh, yeah. Every yenta is chopping her noses and... I look Hawaiian. Look Hawaiian. Yeah, they all want to look Hawaiian. It's hilarious. God. What a genius, right?
I love that guy so much. Love that guy so much. Oh my God. Oh. God.
Dude, I saw him. I told you the story, right? I saw him like a few years ago in BB King's. He was like testing out material. So what does he do? He comes out and the first 30 minutes he starts making fun of Trump, right? Because it was Trump versus Hillary.
Yeah.
And everybody's laughing, including the conservatives, and obviously it's New York, so whatever. But the thing is, most of his audiences are like kind of centrist. Maybe some people are right wing, some people are left wing, all over the map. So he's making fun of Trump for 30 minutes, and then he takes an intermission. That's what he does. He takes intermissions,
Yeah.
He comes back, and he devotes the second half hour to making fun of Hillary. A bunch of these yentas get up. A bunch of these yentas get up in a huff, and they start like, as they're like mumbling something like, "Oh my God, I can't believe, why would he say that? He's not saying the truth." Da, 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 da. What is it? If you're making something funny, at least it has to be truthful. That they start with this whole, and then they just get up and they leave, and everybody else is laughing. And then my mother is like, "Greg, I'm telling you, this is like 2016, 2015. It's like, Greg, I'm telling you, this is only the beginning of this. She's like, they're gonna kill comedy. We're not gonna have any more humor. This is what they did in Soviet Union. This is the beginning." My mom was like, and I understood. I agreed with her when she was saying that, but she was like that moment ruined her night. Because it was just like, it brought back all the stuff from like, the Soviet Union, and we're sitting there, we're just cracking up at what he's saying, obviously, because what he's saying is MS. Always, he's saying MS about Trump, he's saying MS about Hillary, and he's being even-handed, and it is what it is, just, grow up, like.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I don't agree that he was being even-handed, but still.
No, he was like, for what it was, he was being even-handed, for what it was, like, as much as he could be, you know what I mean? Listen, even at that time, he wasn't him, because I think it was like during the primaries, he himself wasn't fond of Trump only because he also grew up in New York and knew the exploits of Trump in the real estate world and how he didn't do right by people, whatever it is. Obviously, he voted for Trump in the end.
No, but the thing is, every time I heard some story about Trump and how supposedly he didn't do right by anybody, it never holds up. I investigated these things.
There were stories where he didn't do right by, and then there were stories he did very right by people.
Okay, can somebody please show me like a concrete example of what he didn't do right by? I've been trying to get this for like.
I'll tell you like
since
this. No.
2015.
I'll tell you like this. You should read the book Art of the Deal, and it talks about all of the times where he had people that he was doing deals with, or people who just stop, either people he was doing business with or people who worked for him, where he basically he had like he doesn't have tolerance. I would not tolerate insolence. Like Dr. Yuli's like, he doesn't tolerate like even the slightest slip-ups. Like if whatever you saw in The Apprentice is pretty true to reality in terms of how he ran his businesses. Or people who were just like, he would, it's true. Like, he there was many instances he didn't.
So most of the time, most of the criticism, right, that I've noticed is I noticed a pattern. I don't know if what you're saying applies.
Okay.
But the answer to most of these criticisms is you gotta hate the game and not the player.
Of course. But
the people the game. He didn't make the game.
For sure, he didn't make the game, but he did at times. How should I put this? He very much stretched the game.
Yeah.
He very much stretched the game. A lot of his thing was also very much like, look what I did for you. Sometimes he would do kind of quote unquote like the Hesed project or whatever it is. But then after the Hesed project, so to speak, Hesed, I use it very loosely, he would be like, I did that. Look who did that for you. I want, he would like demand the kavod and the whatever it is and the award.
No, because
and this and that and the other.
I most of the time, so far, every single issue where he said that, I actually end up, if I'm honest with myself, agreeing with him.
For sure, but...
Because when you try to do something good, right? Yeah. And it goes unrecognized, right? Yeah. It goes unappreciated.
Yeah.
Right? So you are being made a fool of.
For sure. No, in this cases they appreciated what he did, obviously, but they didn't. It was like he was looking for like total red carpet. I was like reading about like Robert Maxwell, for example, like the father of Ghislaine, like you call her. And there's all these parts that talks about like the guy did all of this stuff. Like he did a lot of this, he did a lot of financial help with like Bulgaria and Hungary, right? So the guy describes how like Robert Maxwell used to land at the airport and they used to roll out the red carpet for him, and they had like deliberately, like they would hire like crowds of people just to show up as like makeshift crowds, as if he's like an important figure. And then those crowds used to follow him through town, like through whatever it was, like Sofia, Bulgaria, and like.
It's ерунда.
It's ерунда, but what I'm saying is like that's what Trump was looking for also, because he's that type of character. He's a similar type of character. You know what I mean? This bombastic, whatever.
There's no question.
So
listen.
And that's the stuff people are disgusted by. I mean, I don't really care.
First of all, here's why that doesn't bother me at all.
It also doesn't bother me.
No, on an idealistic, unrealistic level, it bothers me. But he's not the worst offender.
Yeah, for sure not.
So when people try to take the person who is not the worst offender, or is not even halfway towards the worst offender, and then they try to make him as the archetype of it, that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, because he's the most visible.
America.
Yeah.
They're trying to paint America as the master of slavery, when America is the one that actually they abandoned slavery and they set a precedent for the world to do so, right?
Sure.
So now you're trying to take the one that actually did the right thing eventually, and you try to make him to be the worst of all of them. That's what that's what they're doing to Trump. So I don't like the showboating and all that kind of what do they call it? braggart, braggadocious
braggadocious,
stuff, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, that's not good.
Yeah.
Okay? But in a world of not good, he's not the worst. He might be the least of it.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know. I once explained to this, whatever, I was talking to like somebody before the election, that election. This person, she's like I guess Balchuva, but originally from like San Francisco. Kind of hippy dippy, whatever it is, Nachlot. I was telling you, she's like, how can you vote for this guy? Like, again, emotional incontinence. So I was just like, you understand? No, she's like, I don't like the way he talks. I'm like, you understand that, like, he talks like every single regular New York real estate guy, whether Jewish or not Jewish. She's
It's
like,
New York.
and then she goes, yeah, and then she goes, New York shorthand, yeah, and then she goes, it doesn't mean I have to like it. I'm like, I'm not talking about you liking him. I don't give a crap if you like him or not. I want you to look at his policies, especially the ones towards Israel, since you live in the damn place. And she just couldn't, like, the person has to have midos, midos, shmidos. I'm like, what midos? What midos? You want the president of America to be Jesus? What do you want? You want the Lubavitcher Rebbe?
Fucking midos. You want to hear about midos? He's a heterosexual guy who likes pretty broads.
Seriously.
Now, if you compare that to these fucking pedophiles and these creeps, right?
Yeah.
Who like whose sins go way more. He's practically square compared to them.
Yeah, he's a regular dude in a freaking locker room talking about grabbing stuff. You know what? He talks about grabbing stuff, and Clinton actually did it.
Stuff. Yeah, he wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, he wouldn't have the balls, nor would he want to do that.
And Clinton actually did it, and Trump wouldn't even...
Clinton went to Juanita, what wasn't it her name? Broderick.
Yeah.
He fucking grabbed her and bit her by the lip, and bit through. He is an animal beast demon.
Yeah, I know.
And Jews are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Not just Jews, but people in general. They're so dead asleep.
Yeah.
That it's just humiliating how the things that they say. I spoke to a guy who actually said, and this is supposed to be an intelligent guy. He said, Joe Biden seems like he's a decent guy. I was like, what? Where is he decent? What has he ever done except for lie?
Dude, can I tell you something freaky?
Years.
I just checked a WhatsApp group I'm part of, like with some friends. A friend of mine is in Manhattan, and he just took a picture of a picture. Just 1 second. So, there's a taxi, and on top of the taxi, it says Hillary, Ron, Clinton. You know the master class? Like you have like these celebrities who give master class in their like field. It says they're advertising a master class with Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Is that real, or is that like some kind of? Is that like irony?
No, it's real. Hold on a second.
It's not The Onion, because that would be just crazy.
No, it's not The Onion. It's a real photo of a taxi. My friend is in Manhattan, and it's an advertisement on top of the taxi. Dude, it's a real thing. People are still.
But they have the Let's Go Brandon stuff that's kind of popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Masterclass on what? On eugenics? World domination?
Yeah, I guess so.
Marketing?
I don't know. Oh, by the way, somebody posted, you know how like, this whole canard of like anybody who what is it called? Anybody who accuses Soros of controlling this and that and the other is basically guilty of anti-Semitism. Like lefties like to do that.
Yeah. I'd like to state at this point that I love that word canard.
Yeah.
And yet I don't know what it means. I don't want to pretend
canard
like I do.
is an untrue like thing that gets spread around.
So a lie.
Yeah. Okay. See, somebody Fox News posted a cartoon of Soros holding puppet, strings. One of the puppet strings is like it's basically whatever. Like one of them, they're both donkeys. The Democratic donkeys. And one donkey has a sign called defund the police, and the other one says no bail equals lawlessness and chaos. So it's like Soros has the puppet strings on these things. So this freaking lefty Jewish guy, today Fox News shared this shamelessly anti-Semitic image There has been no outrage, no calls for accountability, no press coverage. Leaders are nowhere to be seen, Jewish or otherwise. The mainstream discourse around anti-Semitism is broken. So this guy's trying to pull it in with general anti-Semitism theme. This idiot. And my friend posted this and he said, I'm so glad I unfollowed this guy. He's a Baal Shuva Lubavitch guy. I'm not going to say his name.
There's definitely some kind of...
There's a lefty movement. Dude, there's a lefty movement in Crown Heights. You know that, right? There's a lefty movement.
There seems to be some kind of lefty infiltration, very similar to Maskilim.
Yeah.
So I don't believe, there's a guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he was supposedly a Lubavitch guy, right? And I looked at his profile. There's a beard, there's he got the whole getup on, right? But he would attack Rabbi Katzin.
Katzin.
Right? And he would, when Rabbi Katzin would write stuff about COVID treatments and he would this guy would start trolling him horribly, just really weird evil stuff.
Dude, there's a lot of really
and he would begin harassing me, and he would send me messages on Facebook Messenger saying I'd like to see your brother dead and all this kind of stuff, right? So my first, I right away I understood that that was a test from God, right? So my natural reaction would be перерезать ему горло.
Yeah.
И выкинуть его, перерезать его на много частей.
Yeah.
And to feed the alligators.
Yeah.
That's what I would do to this person for even saying a word like that. But I realized that I decided to say there's something mentally off with him.
Yeah.
And even though this is a very rare thing, and by far the vast majority of the people, not the leadership, but the actual people, are very supportive of my brother.
Yeah.
Okay? So this guy is an anomaly of anomalies.
Yeah.
So that needs to be stated. However, there is a very tiny element of that within, and it's virulent.
Yeah, I know.
As small as it is, it ends up being...
Dude, I told you, the guy that blocked me, this guy, he's himself is a surgeon or some kind. But this guy just really... The venom. No, I met this person. He's not all there. He's not all there. It's there seems to be some sort of, it's a combination of that and just also leftism that has infiltrated the frum community, and it's really...
So that's, I think that I want to be fair. We rail against the frum community a lot, being members of it.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, but also we got to stick up for it.
Yeah.
When it's righteous to do so.
Sure.
The frum community does not suffer from a great deal of leftists.
I know. No, I was gonna say if anything, I'm
very small.
Trying to defend it on a physical level, to where I don't want these people to be among us.
I don't want them to gain any traction.
Yeah.
But it's very, thank God it's very small, and it has to be, it has to be, I'm not saying, you see, we're not leftists, so we're not going to say, oh, we got to rub them out. We can't, we got to rub out the competition. Yeah. What I'm saying is we have to highlight it so people can see what it is.
For sure.
Look at it.
For sure.
I'm going to have to either to be continued or we call it here, because I have to learn with the rabbi.
No worries. No, because it's been an hour and a half, so I think that's sufficient.
Can you erase the stuff where I said fucking stupid Jews and ёбаные жидовки?
I can definitely do that. Even though you just said it now, so I don't know what I'm erasing. I'm erasing the beginning and the end.
Just I guess I'll just say a disclaimer that I'm not really, I do that partly for shtick.
Yeah.
Shtick recognition is important.
Yeah, that's right. Our audience has enough,
I don't know. I want our audience to become shtick recognition experts. Our audience are the leaders, are the future leaders.
Yeah.
Denise and Alex are the future leaders, and and they have, I think Denise, by the way, automatic shtick recognition.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like with all the jokes that we have, like like she's awesome. Like she got it like straight from the beginning.
Yep.
You know?
No doubt about it.
And so, all right.
Baruch Hashem. Well, this one was short, but we covered a lot, I think.
Short but bitter.
Listen.
Right?
It sounds like Danny DeVito.
Wiley.
You just described Danny DeVito. Did you see that episode where they go on the View, him and George Clooney, and they just like came from a club and they stayed out all night and they drank limoncellos, and then Danny DeVito's like, I think we're like on like our 18th limoncello right now. It was like 7:00 in the morning and they're just like out of their minds.
What is a limoncello?
Limoncello is like the lemony kind of like sugary liqueur made in Italy. It's it's sweet, but it's also very, I mean, it's like lemon, but it's very, there's a lot of sugar. So, obviously sugar keeps alcohol buoyant in your system. These guys were gone out of their mind. They went to some Italian place with like, whatever, like in the Manhattan, and they just got blasted out of their mind. So you see like DeVito sitting there, just like completely obliterated. Dude,
DeVito, by the way, on a side note, makes me sick. He's a psychopathic Marxist.
These days, yeah. It's unfortunate.
These days?
No, I'm saying the last time I enjoyed watching him in any capacity was in Twins. After that, it's over.
I liked him in Taxi.
Taxi also. Taxi and yeah. Was he in Cheers? I don't think he was, no.
He was not in Cheers, but his wife was.
Perlman, yeah, she's in Cheers. But yeah, he was in Taxi and then like Twins, and that's all you get. That's basically it. What else was he in though?
That's pretty cool, like kind of this kind of sad little mellow.
You know what's funny? Tony Danza was in it, and like like Judd Hirsch and like what's her face? This
Mary Lou Henner, bro.
Yeah, she's pretty dope. I would say.
Interesting smokestack, by the way.
That's right.
So in terms of smokestacks, she has this condition where she has a photographic memory. She can never forget any detail about anything that she's ever seen or heard.
Oh, that's her. That's who you were talking about. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's rough, right?
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
That's not necessarily a blessing.
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of that's pretty. Yeah, if anything, it's kind of like one of these, movies where the guy like remembers everything and goes crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty. In the 70s, she's pretty. It's good stuff. Huh.
Good stuff.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
Animal. You animal.
She was only 25 during the filming of these Taxi things. It's kind of crazy.
It's the late 70s.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me a lot. It reminds me of my dad, because that's when my dad was that's when he got to America. That's when Taxi was out. That's when my dad got to America and was driving a taxi.
That's so crazy.
My dad was like a mix of like, he was a mix of all of them. He was a mix of Tony Danza in terms of being a fighter. Mm-hmm. He was a mix of that guy who was Kanicki from Greece, who was like, he was like trying to be an actor. He was kind of like, he was kind of cool. Yeah. And
Latka?
Judd Hirsch. Like if they
he wasn't Latka, right? He wasn't. I will talk like
no, not Latka.
I'm not like
no. He's anything but Latka.
And the Kaufman?
My dad was a mix of Judd Hirsch, Tony Danza, and Kanicki.
Yeah.
The guy who played, and if they all had a baby, that would be my dad.
You mean you talk like this sometimes? Angela, you talk like this?
No, my dad probably sounded more like Latka, but personality-wise was more like those three guys mixed together.
Oh my God. Fortunately, it's like a...
Yeah, let's be real.
Dude, you just described like a... Dude, it's like a Brooklynite Picasso painting. I don't know, that's what you described.
No, it's just like if you took the elements, my dad was like... He was like... He's a serious, wise guy, like my dad. But he's also poetic and philosophical, and he drove a taxi, You know,
very
like,
funny.
and he knew how to fight.
Yeah.
And he was stylish.
Yeah.
That's literally all those guys put together.
That's very funny. That's very funny.
Yeah. But he wasn't like Christopher Lloyd.
Marty, we're going to break the space-time continuum.
I hear what you're doing. I hear what you're trying to do, but you sound more like
I know, it sounds horrible.
than Ignatowski. What was it? His name's Ignatowski?
Who?
No, I'm trying to remember what the character's name, Christopher Lloyd, in that Ignatowski, I think.
In Back to the Future.
In Taxi.
In Taxi. I don't remember the name. I don't remember.
He played the drugged out. You know, he was like the most drugged out dude.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean, he looked drugged out. I don't think the irony he may not have.
He was seriously drugged out. Like,
okay.
Yeah. No question.
Dude, I once saw him in Manhattan, by NYU. That's where where he lives. Dude, he looked like he just got electrocuted again.
Dude, Doc. Yeah, man.
Marty.
Marty.
Great.
It's the flex capacitor.
Yeah. Dude, he is
Einstein.
he is 83 years old. Oh my goodness. And he married 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I could see that. I could see a man like him not being able to keep one woman.
I think he was a cad, to use an old expression. If you see his character in Clue, that's probably what he was really like.
Oh yeah, I have to check it out.
I have no reason to say that. Besides, I think it's funny to say that. By the way, I have no idea, Mr. Christopher Lloyd, what you're really like. Sure, you're a very nice man.
Yeah. The character's name was Reverend Jim Iggy Ignatowski.
Ignatowski, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And
what's funny is that Judd Hirsch's character in that series was Alex. So my dad, that's my dad's name.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, sir.
All right, brother.
Go do your thing, and keep hope alive. We're gonna see what happens on Rumble in the Jungle here.
We gotta remember this phrase: engage the phenomenon.
That's right. That is right.
We'll talk about it.
All right. All right, later, man.
All right, brother.
Later.
Take care.